So welcome back, everyone. You might realize that we're back at the same location as last video. That's because something else came into the store to take a look at. We have an 80s AV receiver. So AV receivers didn't really become a thing until the 80s after like VCRs and stuff, as far as I can find. This is a STR-AV460, and AV standing for audio video. I believe this one was built around 86. I'll check later in the video and tell you guys if it wasn't. Another thing that's kind of cool is like the last AV receiver I looked at, this one also has a little tab that you can take out and put in the little predetermined FM and AM stations that you program into it. So why don't I turn this on, plug in some speakers, and then we'll take a closer look. So before I do kind of plug in some speakers, let me just take a basic look at it. It does turn on okay. I did also find they brought the remote in. Unfortunately, it looks like there might be some corrosion. I tried to clean it off a little bit. We will try some batteries again later and see if that worked, but the remote might be shot. It originally came with an RM-S760 remote. But yeah, turns on just fine. Didn't seem to display. It's kind of weird to use these buttons instead of a knob for volume this early on. We have the tape monitor, tape 1 and 2, video 2, video 1, CDR auxiliary, tuner, and then phono. So there's a phono stage if you have a turntable that uses phono output, which pretty much by now you can get one with a phono preamp built in. Back then it was still mostly phono line in. Muting button. There are some buttons to program the stations, A and B, and then there is a power button for pretty much that and the whole AV setup. So if you had a Trinitron or something like that plugged in, you can send out a power signal to the other devices. Headphone jack. These are all kind of just press-in buttons. It's not too wide or deep. It's not too crazy or big. Around back, this one actually has RF in. Pretty much any receiver I've seen in the 90s does not have RF anymore. They all just go for composite. And then there are connections for remote controls for specific units. I do not have any of these cables or any devices that use these, so we're not going to be looking at them in this video. Oh, we also have the antenna in for AM/FM. Standard RCA connections in. We have the phono line, the CD/auxiliary, and then we also have video in and out for video 1, just video 2 in, and then we have a composite out for monitor, so just composite video, which was pretty much standard at the time. And then we have 2 tape loops, and we can have not 1, but 2 sets of speakers. We can swap the impedance from either 4 ohm to 8 ohm, so nothing too crazy. Then we have 2 outlets on the back. So let me flip this around and we'll plug in some speakers. So I forgot to bring the standard Sony speakers that I usually use for these videos. Also, I apologize, I do have a bit of allergies and colds bugging me, so it might affect my voice. So I tried a few different pairs of batteries on the remote, but unfortunately it looks like the corrosion has affected in a way that I might have to take it apart and do a deep cleaning, or else it's just not going to work at all if it isn't already shot. So let's turn this on. We're going to use the A set of speakers, which shouldn't matter. Switch over to tuner. It's already on 102.7, which is the strongest station in my area. I don't think the muting's on. Oops. So that works. I'm not going to play that for too long because I would rather not get a DMCA. I'm going to swap over to auxiliary and we're going to put on some Dan Mason like usual. Alright, so I was worried a little bit that it might have got messed up since I tested it last. Somehow the bounce got off a little bit and I was able to use a separate pair of cables, or speaker wire that is. And now it's working fine on B. So thank goodness, crisis averted. Muting does work. Yeah, so that sounds just fine. Now this is an AV receiver, and I was thinking, well, I should probably plug in something to show the video part, even if it's just composite. So, you bear with me a second while I pull it out from the side. I have the closest thing to an 80s Sony CRT or Trinitron. This model was designed in the 80s, but this specific one was made in the late 90s. So, it's kind of error correct, maybe made a few years later. This one was made in 91, but if I recall, this model started in production in like 88, 89. We're going to use that as display for the composite, and then we're going to plug in a Sega Genesis 2 because that's the oldest system that I have. Okay, so we have a Sega Genesis Model 2. It should be on video 2. And there you go, woohoo! Now I'm going to have to play probably musical controllers because I never remember to mark which one of these are messed up and which ones aren't. And that is weird because there's no audio. So my bad, somehow I deselected the speaker while moving stuff around. And we'll just go through Emerald Hill Zone real quick. And I chose a controller with bad buttons, so looks like this is going to be a shorter playthrough than I thought. Oh, it kind of works. I forgot to show off earlier, there are bass and treble controls. The little bars for them are right here, so it might be a little harder to see on the display. They'll be like an even line when they're properly calibrated to the center. There's a supersonic filter, that's more of an older thing. And yeah. So, the reason I chose this display is because of one, its size, two, this is a mono-only TV, so it only has one audio channel. So having a unit like this would upgrade you to stereo sound without taking up too much space. The unit also fits on top of the receiver pretty decently. You would probably want to have it like raised a little bit so there wouldn't be too much heat stuck up on it or going up to it and it could vent out more. But overall, this would have been a neat thing to have back in the day. This might not be that in-depth of a video or viewing of this receiver, but I hope it gives you a general idea of what it's like if you see one or if you want to pick one up yourself. Hopefully you find one with a working remote. But that's it for now, guys. I have to go take care of more errands and stuff. I hope to see you guys again soon, probably next month. Take care, and bye for now.